4 astronauts are about to do something no human has done in over half a century. They're going to fly around the moon. Not land on it, not even orbit it for long, just swing around the far side and come home. And yet, this mission might be the most important spaceflight since Apollo 11. Because if Artemis II fails, humanity's return to the moon could be delayed by years, maybe decades. And the clock is ticking because on the other side of the world, another superpower is quietly closing the gap. For more than 50 years, the moon has been silent. After the Apollo missions ended in 1972, no human has ventured beyond low Earth orbit. We've been stuck circling our planet at altitudes no higher than 400 kilometers, trapped in a cosmic holding pattern while the moon, once humanity's greatest triumph, became a forgotten relic. But that's about to change. NASA's Artemis program promises to return humans to the lunar surface by the end of this decade. And before that can happen, 4 astronauts must first prove we can survive the journey. Their names are Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. Together, they'll fly farther from Earth than any human in modern history. But the mission isn't just about distance. It's about testing the technology, the systems, and the sheer human endurance required to live and work beyond our protective bubble of atmosphere. Because if we can't master the journey to the moon, Mars remains an impossible dream. What makes Artemis II so critical? This isn't Apollo Redux. Back then, NASA had unlimited funding and Cold War urgency driving rapid, risky decisions. Artemis is slower, more methodical, and far more complicated. The spacecraft is more advanced, but heavier. The rocket is more powerful, but more expensive. And the entire program faces constant scrutiny from Congress and international partners, all asking the same question. Is this worth it? The centerpiece is the Orion spacecraft. From outside, it resembles Apollo's command module. Same cone shape, same heat shield design, but inside, the differences are striking. Orion offers 60% more interior space than Apollo, crucial for a crew spending up to 3 weeks aboard. Modern touchscreen displays replace analog switches. Life support systems recycle air and water far more efficiently. Even the bathroom is upgraded. Apollo astronauts used crude plastic bags and malfunctioning suction hoses. Orion's waste management system is functional, enclosed, and far less likely to create the floating disasters that plagued Apollo 8. But comfort matters less than redundancy. Orion contains over 355,000 parts, and NASA knows something will fail. A sensor, a thruster, a computer at the worst moment. Every critical system has backups, and most backups have their own redundancies. Astronauts train for months in simulations where engineers deliberately break systems. The goal is simple. When something unexpected happens, the crew should feel they've handled it before. Launching Orion requires NASA's most powerful rocket ever built. The Space Launch System stands 98 meters tall and produces 4 million kilograms of thrust at liftoff, about 450 metric tons more than the Saturn V. The design looks retro. 2 solid boosters like the shuttle, and a giant orange core stage. Each launch costs $2 to $4 billion. Critics call it an expensive jobs program. Supporters call it the only vehicle capable of deep space human missions. Both have a point. On launch day, the crew wakes 8 hours before liftoff. Medical checks, suit up, say goodbye, then ride an elevator 84 meters up to Orion at the rocket's peak. Once strapped in, countdown begins. At T-minus 6.6 seconds, 4 RS-25 engines ignite. These refurbished shuttle engines fire for one-time use on SLS. Seconds later, the twin boosters light. The rocket lifts with ground-shaking force. 7 seconds after ignition, the vehicle clears the tower. SLS pitches over, rolling downrange to build. Orbital velocity, Inside, the crew feels every vibration as they're pressed into seats with 3 times their body weight. After just over 2 minutes, the boosters burn out and separate. The core stage continues burning through tons of propellant per second. 8 minutes after launch, it shuts down and separates. Orion remains attached to the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, which fires to place them in Earth orbit. Once stable, the crew checks Orion's systems: thrusters, computers, life support. If everything's good, they perform an apogee raise burn, boosting to 70,000 kilometers above Earth. The ISS orbits at just 400 kilometers. From 70,000 up, Earth looks like a basketball at arm's length, a view unseen since Apollo. And if you're enjoying this, hit that like button. It helps the channel. And the best part is ahead. About 90 minutes later, Orion separates from the upper stage and turns around. Victor Glover takes manual control for proximity operations practice. The autopilot faces the discarded stage, then Victor flies closer, rehearsing precision maneuvering needed for future lunar lander dockings. He'll approach within 9 meters, incredibly close at orbital speeds. It tests both hardware and human piloting ability. After more system checks comes the big moment. Orion fires its engine for translunar injection, sending them moonward. The journey takes 4 days. During that time, the crew monitors systems and prepares for the lunar flyby. As they swing around the far side, passing within a few thousand kilometers of the surface, they'll be cut off from Earth for about 45 minutes. No radio, no mission control. Just 4 humans and the ancient lunar landscape below. It's exhilarating and terrifying, a reminder of their isolation. Then Earth's gravity pulls them home. Another 4 days, and as they approach, the crew prepares for the mission's most dangerous part. Re-entry. Hitting atmosphere at 40,000 kilometers per hour generates 2,760 degrees Celsius temperatures. The Avcoat heat shield burns away gradually, carrying heat through ablation. It worked during Artemis I, but engineers found troubling cracks afterward. NASA traced the problem to the skip re-entry profile, where Orion briefly exits atmosphere before re-entering. To slow down. The shield didn't stay hot enough for proper gas venting, building internal pressure that cracked the material. For Artemis II, NASA adjusted the trajectory to keep it hotter longer. It's a calculated fix that should work. But until 4 astronauts survive that fiery plunge into the Pacific, no one knows for certain. If Artemis II succeeds, Artemis III follows, finally returning boots to the lunar surface. But that's where complexity explodes. Artemis III requires a lunar lander, and NASA chose SpaceX's Starship. The problem? Starship's still developing. Multiple test flights have flown, each inching toward success, but it hasn't demonstrated orbital refueling, absolutely critical for lunar missions. The plan calls for launching a tanker Starship, then additional Starships transferring fuel to it. Once full, another Starship launches, refuels from the tanker, and heads moonward. It's ambitious architecture never attempted before. SpaceX is confident, but the timeline is razor thin, with almost no error margin. Meanwhile, China progresses methodically. They've built Tiangong Station, landed rovers on Mars and the Moon's far side, and plan to put astronauts on the lunar surface by 2030. Unlike NASA's approach with private contractors and international partnerships, China's program is centrally controlled and well-funded. No shifting budgets or political debates. They set goals, allocate resources, execute. It's a different model, proving faster in some ways. So the real question isn't whether NASA can return to the moon. It's whether they can do it first. And that brings us back to Artemis II. This mission isn't just a test flight. It's a declaration that after decades of delay, humanity is ready to leave low Earth orbit again. If the crew returns safely, if systems work as designed, if Orion proves it can protect astronauts beyond Earth's embrace, then the door to the moon opens once more. But if something fails, if a critical system malfunctions, if the heat shield cracks irreparably, the entire program could stall. In a race where timing matters, stalling equals losing. Before we wrap up, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We're covering every step of humanity's return to space, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Because Artemis II is just the beginning. What follows will define whether we become multiplanetary or remain forever tethered to Earth. The Artemis program is messy, expensive, and politically fragile. Critics call it too slow, too complex, too dependent on unproven technology. But it's also the most serious attempt in half a century to push humanity beyond accepted boundaries. 4 astronauts, Reed, Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, carry the hopes of an entire generation. They'll test systems that must work flawlessly. They'll demonstrate technologies enabling future lunar bases and Mars missions. They'll prove humans can venture into the unknown and return safely. The stakes are enormous. Success validates years of work, billions invested, and the dream that space exploration isn't about flags and footprints anymore. It's about infrastructure, permanent presence, preparing for when Earth is one of many homes. Lunar Gateway will orbit the moon as a staging point. Commercial partners will develop habitats and resource extraction. International cooperation expands as nations join the Artemis Accords. But failure brings devastating political fallout. Congress might slash funding. International partners could lose confidence. Momentum since Artemis I could evaporate. While NASA regroups, China continues toward lunar dominance. The race isn't national pride anymore. It's about who sets rules for the next frontier, establishes mining rights, controls strategic positions, writes legal frameworks for space resources. Artemis II proves whether we still have what it takes to explore, risk, and reach for something greater. 4 astronauts will fly around the moon, seeing Earth rise over the lunar horizon, experiencing profound deep space isolation farther from help than any modern humans. They'll return as ambassadors from the future, inspiring the next generation of explorers. When they splash down, when recovery teams pull them from the capsule, when they step back onto solid ground after 10 days in space, we'll know if living among the stars remains within reach. The universe isn't waiting. It moves forward whether we join or not. Artemis II is humanity's answer. Our way of saying we're not done exploring, not content staying in low orbit forever. We're ready to go farther, stay longer, build something outlasting any single generation. The countdown has begun.